Welcome back. Executive business and transformational coach who is passionate about the transformation and development of leaders, Estelle Tjipuka launched her second book titled Breaking Barriers over the weekend. She joins us in studio to tell us all about this. Estelle, good evening and welcome to the Daily Roundup.
Good evening and thank you for having me here, Nina.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
For our viewers watching this evening who might not be aware of who Estelle Tjipuka is, tell us a little bit about yourself, Estelle.
Yeah. So I was born and bred in the coastal town of Walfish Bay. You know, grew up in Quisopont, spent most of my childhood actually in Quisopont. Went to Dodena Secondary School in Walfish Bay, qualified as a forensic accountant. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for a number of years and then subsequently joined the Bank of Namibia and climbed the corporate ladder, you know, from a senior internal auditor all the way to director of finance within the Bank of Namibia, and then subsequently decided to become an entrepreneur and then a coach and then a speaker and now an author.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting journey.
Quite an interesting journey,
yes.
Yeah. A very ambitious young woman you do seem to be. You've added on author to your repertoire. Talk to us about that journey. I'm sure it was not an easy one. And how did it come about?
Yeah. So the whole journey, you know, over the years, I always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what to write about. And I think the first thing that came to my mind was, you know, it's a good start to start with a memoir because it's your own story and you can tell it the way that you want. You can script it the way that you want. And that can become relatable to people, and you know, so the whole story started with a memoir, which was just so much easier for me in the writing process. Instead of doing research about a specific topic and thinking about thought leadership, etc. So I just thought, let's do a memoir as a good start. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about Breaking Barriers, your new book, and you know the inspiration behind it.
Yeah. So. Initially, I think it was way back in 2017, 2018, I was invited as a guest speaker at one of a women's conference. And the topic they gave me actually was breaking barriers. And I tried to do a whole lot of research on this topic, you know, going from this side to that side. Initially, I decided, you know what, you have broken barriers yourself. So make it personal and tell that story from that perspective. And I actually personalized it, and based on that, you know, I actually came up with a whole presentation on the barriers that I have broken in my own life. And I thought to myself, when I got that, I said to myself, this might be something interesting, you know, that I can use one day, you know, whether it's in a form of a memoir or whatever it is, even if it doesn't go for commercial purposes, but maybe I can leave it as a legacy for my children, you know, and that's how Breaking Barriers came about. So the inspiration behind it was really, for me, as a transformational coach, I really just wanted to air my voice and, you know, and use my voice in order to give hope to somebody, inspire somebody, and to motivate somebody. But also Breaking Barriers in itself is a Namibian story, and that's what makes it so unique about it. And people can relate to it and they can resonate with it. So it's a story about the girl from Quisopont, you know, that was born and bred in a disadvantaged family, and people can relate to this story. I wanted to bring a local content to the story. Yeah.
What has the reception been to the book thus far? The launch I've only seen on social media. It looked like it was a great success. What feedback have you been getting, you know, around the book so far?
Yeah. Interestingly, Nina, ever since we published the book on the 22nd of December, the support has been phenomenal from the Namibian nation, but also not just phenomenal and overwhelming, but also very humbling. And I just want to take this time also just to thank the Namibian nation, you know, for the support that they have been giving me over the time on this journey in particularly. And interestingly, you know, we published it on the 22nd of December, and within a period of 2 months, we were able to sell about 500 books. That's a number that we had on Friday. And today, as we are speaking, we've moved that number to 750 books that we have sold. So it just says that, you know, people can resonate with the story, and it's very relatable, and it's really just just overwhelming and humbling to see that kind of support from the Namibian nation.
Yeah, as much as it, Breaking Barriers is a memoir and you're writing from the perspective of experience, I'm sure the writing process is no small feat. So talk to us about how long it took you to put this book together.
Yeah, it took about 3 years. I started with it way back in 2020, actually when we were in national lockdown. So I wrote about the first 4 chapters of the book during lockdown, and then I parked it. I think I got a little bit lazy, and I picked it up again in 2021 and part of it in 2022. So the writing process has been long. It's been 3 years. But it was also mentally and emotionally a little bit taxing because, and for a number of reasons, and I'll tell you why. I had to reflect quite a lot on the journey, So I was forced to think a lot. I also had to relive my past, all the good and all the bad. Even the bad that I didn't want to think about, I had to relive that. And then thirdly, I think it required transparency and vulnerability from my side, which is something I did not anticipate at the time that I was writing the book. But I think the beauty of bringing in vulnerability and transparency in the book is what makes the book relatable to people, and it's also through that I'm also breaking the barriers between myself and my readers. People might have certain perceptions about you, and once they get to know your story and you tell them actually the hardship, the barriers that you had to overcome, it just breaks that barrier between you and the readers.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
As we're rounding off our discussion, Estelle, for Namibian women who look up to you and would like to purchase this book and receive some encouragement, what are your words of encouragement to them this evening when it comes to breaking these barriers in their own personal lives?
Yeah. So, we have to think about what is a barrier. A barrier is any obstacle that is preventing you from achieving your goals. It's an obstacle that is preventing you from becoming a better version of yourself, and it's an obstacle that is blurring your view. The interesting thing about barriers is that you don't have to really apply for it. It can just come. And when it does come, it requires for you to be resilient, and it requires for you to be able to break those barriers. It is when we break the barriers in our lives that elevation comes in our lives. It's when we break the barriers in our lives that promotion is coming. So my message to anybody, not just any women, but to anybody, is that it is time for each and every one of us. It is time for Namibia to break barriers, because we need to break those barriers that are holding us back in life so that we can elevate ourselves and become better versions of ourselves. So Namibia, it is our time for us to break barriers.
Estelle, where can Namibians get a copy of this book? Is it available as an e-book? Give us all the details.
Yeah, so the book is available as an e-book as well as paperback. So it's available on Amazon for those that are outside of the country. And it's also available locally from our offices at Emerge Coaching. So, they can order it from our website. It's www.emergecoaching.org. Alternatively, they can just send us an email. It's info@emergecoaching.org, and we will deliver it wherever you are in Namibia. So we deliver nationwide.
Or they can DM you on social media.
They can DM me on social media. That's also perfectly fine.
Estelle, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best with the success of this book.
Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you for having me.
That was Estelle Tjipuka speaking to us.